I'm sitting here in Hawaii's airport, or one of Hawaii's airports, not the only one, with Linus Sebastian again, and we have been talking tech, go figure, and we stumbled upon the topic of gaming and consoles, and Linus suggested something bold that I've heard before from other people, believing that this is the last console generation, and so he started to explain why, his perspective, and I said, hey, can I record this video? And he said, sure. So why is this the last console generation?
Well, I mean, I think this is the last console generation because you look at the trend on just electronics in general, where 8 years ago, 10 years ago, when the last generation consoles launched, I guess what was it, about 8 years ago, everyone used a desktop, and like the laptop was your secondary computer. Well, now here we are 8 years later, your laptop is your primary computer for a lot of people. And now this is your secondary computer. And the processing power available to us, particularly in the last 4 to 5 years, hasn't actually increased that much. It's just gotten smaller. So you look at something like Haswell on the desktop, it's really not that much more powerful than the mobile variants compared to how it used to be 8 years ago, where you wanted like actual performance that was on a desktop. So that's the direction the hardware guys are all going, to the point where nothing's really getting more powerful. It's all just getting more miniaturized and more power efficient. And so, okay, so let's go back to consoles for a minute. So 8 years ago, they were running what I'd consider to be desktop class hardware. Whether it was the cell processor or whether it was the power processor that was in the Xbox 360, and this was all, it was something that would have been sort of server grade or whatever else if you were to call it something else. Now we move forward to the two new consoles, PS4 and Xbox One, which are both running Jaguar, which for all intents and purposes is a laptop CPU with like a slightly on roids laptop GPU. So if we were to go 5 years or 8 years in the future from now, I would go as far as to say I'll be incredibly surprised if that next-gen console experience can't be delivered on a tablet or quite frankly with like a dumb streaming solution that's built into your smart TV anyway, or a little box that's just a streaming box, and actually all the power comes from an open platform like Android, or a platform with great developer support like iOS, where that's where all the game development, which is what drives console adoption. We all know this, and if the game devs just continue to go down that path where they develop these platforms, and it becomes more and more flexible, more and more open to products like Nvidia Shield or Ouya. I don't understand why a dedicated box just for playing those games needs to exist anymore in 8 years.
So where do you think Apple is going to go with Apple TV then? Is that the direction? Turning it into, I mean, you could use AirPlay mirroring right now.
You could, but the latency's not good enough. I mean, the only solution that's really been shown to be good enough is, I forget who it was, but there's a hardware manufacturer that makes a Miracast dongle that they were showing off in PAX that is good enough. Like you sat in front of it with Shield and you're like, yeah, this works. And we're quite a ways away from that. And I mean, Apple, it feels like almost accidentally they've become a great gaming platform. And I don't see them altering their strategy and their hardware to really cater to that audience. So I see Android as the way that's going to go because of the openness of it.
I think it's a matter of time before Apple supports Miracast though as well, because it is an open standard.
But then again, you look at other open standards that they've completely ignored. NFC, they give exactly zero cares about.
Yeah, but why?
About that.
Why? I mean, Bluetooth LE works very well.
That's true. Okay.
So it's not really replacing or augmenting anything.
Okay, this is true. But then again, from Apple's perspective, does Miracast augment anything if they already have AirPlay and that's good enough for them?
But if AirPlay doesn't work half as well as in terms of efficiency as Miracast might, plus compatibility with devices that aren't necessarily Apple products but maybe Miracast supported.
Then again, they've dug in their heels many times in the past and gone, look, support our standard or don't, and whatever.
Like Thunderbolt?
So...
Or Firewire, kind of.
What I'll say, I won't say Apple's going to win or Google's going to win or who's going to win, but I will say I think that a dedicated box that's like this big that has to sit next to your TV is done after this generation.
Wow.
Or I mean, we might see something. I mean, here this might be the answer. Maybe your set-top box, which is you look at where Microsoft's going with Xbox One. It feels like an evolution towards your cable box, and maybe your cable box becomes this connected, Netflix-enabled, gaming-enabled, live live streaming enabled, all in one, and then maybe a generation from there it's all integrated into the TV anyway. It's just like a module you plug in. So that's the direction I see it going.